The slap came without warning. You know, it wasn't some weak, dramatic movie flick. It was a smack. Loud enough to make the crystal glasses tremble across the entire dining room of the Gilded Quill. I mean, if you want a perfect hook for a story, that's it. The sound of a 3-carat platinum wedding ring hitting marble, followed by a high-pitched, angry woman's voice screaming, "Get out, you don't belong here." That woman, the one whose palm just rearranged my afternoon, was Brenda Carmichael, the hostess. And the ring? That was mine. Avery, AJ, Jones Valentini, bouncing once, twice, then sliding straight under table 7, the VIP corner, overlooking the city harbor. I had arrived precisely 15 minutes before my reservation. 2:45 p.m. I even wore the good Hermes scarf. The one my husband, Alessandro Valentini, bought me for our anniversary. Thinking, okay, AJ, professional, composed, let's keep it classy. I walked up to the hostess stand, which, by the way, felt more like a fortress. Brenda, all sharp blonde bob and tailored condescension, gave me the full once-over. The kind of appraisal usually reserved for vintage auction items. I saw the digital board flash right behind her head, Valentini party. Table 7. 3 p.m. arrival. Clear as day. I told her, I'm here for the Valentini reservation. Please. And that's when the performance started. She hit me with this practiced, thin smile and the smoothest lie I've ever heard. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry, but I don't see any reservation under that name. I corrected her, keeping my voice level, the tone I use for tough negotiations. Perhaps check again. Avery Jones Valentini. I learned a long time ago that composure, not shouting, is the greatest weapon against predictable cruelty. Her smile stretched into something plastic and truly ugly. Look, dear, maybe there's been some confusion. Our minimum dinner price starts at $55 an entree. You'd probably be more comfortable somewhere, more suited to your budget. And she actually gestured vaguely toward the street, where you could see the neon sign of a fast food joint 3 blocks away. I just nodded toward table 7, the prime spot with the panoramic view, the table I knew was mine, and said, I'll wait for my party. The next 10 minutes? A masterclass in blatant, targeted discrimination. She was seating other couples, all white, all wealthy looking, who arrived after me, apologizing profusely for the short wait. She walked past my table 4 times, refreshing water glasses for everyone else, and when I politely asked for a menu, she claimed every single one was in use, while simultaneously handing a fresh, leather-bound menu to a couple seated at the next table. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. Honestly, it was almost comical in its audacity. I watched a businessman at table 6 shift uncomfortably, whispering to his wife, David, this is getting really uncomfortable. Should we say something? But Brenda was on a roll, feeling her power, feeling entitled to make me feel small. The final straw, the one that broke my composure, or rather, the one that I allowed to break the false peace, was when I decided to order a glass of sparkling water in perfect Italian. Just to see what would happen. Scusi, potrei avere un bicchiere d'acqua frizzante, per favor? Hearing fluent Italian from a black woman in an Hermes scarf seemed to short-circuit her entire prejudiced little brain. She abandoned all pretense of service, slamming her hand down on my table. Look here, she hissed, loud enough for half the restaurant to hear. I don't know what kind of game you think you're playing, but this is a respectable establishment. We don't need trouble from people who think they can just walk in here demanding special treatment. I glanced at my Cartier watch. The 1 ale gave me inscribed with per sempre on the back. 2:58 p.m. 2 minutes to 3. I knew Ale, my husband, was running late from a downtown meeting, but he had texted, 2 minutes out, with Sal and Enzo. Everything okay, amore? Suddenly, the whole restaurant went silent. Even the soft jazz seemed to fade. I could feel every eye on me. And that's when I saw Gino Moretti, the 70-year-old head chef, who came over from Naples 40 years ago, emerge from the kitchen carrying a basket of warm focaccia. Gino, the man who taught Ale to make the perfect Sunday gravy, spotted me sitting calmly at table 7. His face, usually dusted with flour and cheer, went sheet white. He dropped the bread basket and whispered something in rapid, panicked Italian, something about Familia Valentini and Madonna Mia. He crossed himself 3 times and practically ran to the manager's office. A tiny alarm bell that should have been a screaming siren. But Vinny Delano, the manager, was too busy scrolling on his phone in the back to notice. Meanwhile, social media was having a field day. Jessica, the granddaughter at table 10, had her phone up, and her TikTok was already at 500 viewers. Then 1.000. Then 5.000. The food blogger, Marcus Allen at table 4, stopped reviewing his truffle risotto and started live tweeting the blatant racial discrimination at the Gilded Quill. 2:59 p.m. The digital board flickered. Valentini party. Table 7. 3 p.m. arrival. 1 minute overdue. Brenda caught my glance and smirked with triumphant satisfaction. Oh, look, your imaginary party is running late. How absolutely shocking. That's when I stood up. Slowly, with all the quiet dignity an MBA and a lifetime of facing this nonsense can give you. You think you can just walk in here? Tell me how to do my job? Then the slap, the sound that made the entire room flinch, the ring hitting the floor. And Brenda, empowered, kicked my scattered purse contents, the Chanel lipstick, the Porsche car keys, the Amex Platinum, toward the kitchen like worthless trash. Maybe next time you'll think twice before trying to eat somewhere decent. She hissed, loud and proud, playing to her shocked audience. I stayed calm, too calm. I knelt, gathered my things, the noise of the dining room completely gone, replaced by the silent whir of a dozen phone cameras. I found the ring, stood up, and looked Brenda dead in the eyes. That's when I saw something in my expression make the arrogant smirk vanish, a flash of pure, cold realization. Actually, I said, my voice barely a whisper, but it commanded the room. I believe my table is ready now. That's when Vinny Delano, the manager, a guy who looked perpetually stressed and clearly hated his job, finally emerged. He took in the scene, me, kneeling, collecting my things, Brenda, flushed with aggressive satisfaction, a dozen phones pointed like weapons. Vinny immediately went to Brenda, the one with the aggressive posture and the clear handprint on my cheek. What is going on here? He barked. Brenda, emboldened, straightened up. She was causing a major disturbance. Vinny tried to force her way into a reserved table, then got aggressive when I enforced our policies. Vinny's gaze swept over me, my expensive but understated attire, my slightly disheveled natural hair, the faint pink outline of Brenda's hand on my cheek. And that's when I saw it, the imperceptible, almost automatic tightening of his face, a micro-expression of prejudice that Jessica's TikTok captured with brutal clarity. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave immediately, Vinny announced, his tone non-negotiable. You're disrupting our other guests' dining experience. I rose, brushing an invisible speck of dust from my blazer. Actually, I believe my table is ready now. Ma'am, I'm not asking again. Leave voluntarily, or I'll call security to escort you out. And, as if summoned by theatrical magic, Darius, the 6'4", 280-pound security guard, materialized from the shadows, his thick arms crossed over his chest, blocking the exit. Problem, Mr. Delano? I glanced at my watch. 3:01 p.m. A text buzzed in. Parking now. Sal says the place looks crowded. Everything okay, amore? Mr. Valentini. Sir, Vinny stammered, scrambling for his phone, his voice cracking like a teenager's. I didn't know. There's been a terrible mistake. Gino Moretti shuffled fully into the light, his apron trembling. Madonna mia, I tried to warn him. Signor Valentini, he whispered, crossing himself. I tried to tell him who the signora was. I ended the call and slipped my phone into my purse. A simple movement that felt like dropping a guillotine blade. He'll be here in 30 seconds, I said conversationally, as the front door chimed softly, a sound like a church bell tolling the end of an era. Alessandro Valentini entered first. He's 38, and he possesses the kind of presence that demands respect, not asks for it. His suit looked painted on, and his eyes, the same warm brown as mine, swept the dining room, scanning for damage, not to the furniture, but to me. Sal Marino and Enzo Ricci, his companions, flanked him, moving with the coiled energy of men who know their presence is the only security needed. Ale crossed the room in 7 measured steps. his Italian leather shoes clicking against the marble like a countdown timer. When he reached me, he took my hands in his with infinite gentleness. Mi dispiace, amore, he murmured, his voice carrying clearly in the tomb-like silence. Are you hurt? I touched my cheek, where the pink handprint was already fading. Only my pride, caro, but that can be repaired. Ailes' gaze shifted to Vinny, who was clinging to his retrieved phone like a life raft. Vinny, he said, his voice quiet, the authority absolute, we need to talk. Ailes raised one hand, a simple gesture that silenced Vinny's panicked apologies. Sal, Ailes said, without turning around, remind Vinny how long we've owned this restaurant. Sal stepped forward slightly, his voice flat. Professional. 3 years. Boss. Part of the Valentini Restaurant Group. 42 establishments across 11 states. And AJ's role? Silent partner. Boss. Wharton MBA. She handles all HR policies and workplace culture initiatives. Brenda made a sound, a quiet whimper, as the blood drained from her face. Ailes smiled, but it was sharp as a blade. My wife taught me to handle disrespect the new way. The smart way. Lawyers and accountants. Much more painful. No? He stepped back slightly, gesturing toward table 7, where I placed my sleek MacBook Pro on the pristine white tablecloth. The execution was about to begin. Let's discuss business, shall we? I said, my Wharton training kicking in. Every syllable was precise, calculated. I connected to the wall-mounted television, and corporate spreadsheets instantly filled the screen. The Gilded Quill's annual revenue, $3.1 million. Employee costs, Brenda Carmichael, $38 annually. Vinny Delano, $135 plus incentives. The numbers were stark, undeniable. I clicked to the next slide. Potential discrimination lawsuit under state civil rights law. Conservative estimate, $3 to $20 million in damages, plus punitive awards. And that's just the beginning. Ailes moved to stand behind my chair, his hand resting gently on my shoulder, protective, possessive. And my construction union friends, he added, almost casually, they don't like discrimination, makes them incooperative during contract negotiations. Permits get delayed, supply chains develop mysterious bottlenecks. Vinny's face progressed from pale to green. Enzo consulted his phone. Current social media exposure. Facebook Live 8.000 viewers. TikTok video approaching 100.000 views. Hashtag Gilded Quill racism trending in 3 major markets. I advanced the slide. Criminal liability. Assault charges for the physical contact. Possible hate crime enhancements, given the racial motivation and public nature of the incident. Brenda finally found her voice. A dry croak. You can't. I have 2 columns here. Vinny, I interrupted, my voice deadly calm. Option A and Option B, choose carefully. My husband's patience isn't what it used to be. Ailes leaned in, his smile cold. In the old days, I had different ways of handling disrespect. Avery taught me better methods. More civilized, but old habits. He shrugged, the gesture somehow more menacing than any explicit threat. They die hard. Option 1. I read from the screen with the efficiency of a prosecutor. Immediate termination of Brenda Carmichael. Demotion of Vinny Delano to assistant manager at our lowest performing location. Salary reduced to $50. $75 donation to the Equal Justice Initiative paid within 24 hours. Mandatory bias training for all 42 Valentini establishments. New hiring quotas. 40% minority staff within 6 months. Promotion of Gino Moretti to executive chef with full authority. Option 2. We close the Gilded Quill permanently. 150 jobs eliminated. File a $15 million federal discrimination lawsuit against corporate negligence. My union friends will ensure you never work in hospitality again. Vinny. Legally, of course. Very thorough. Very permanent blacklisting. Enzo interrupted. TikTok views are now at 180.000. CNN, Fox, MSNBC are requesting interviews. This is now a national story. Boss. Vinny's hands trembled.